Hey guys, it's Chris. So this past week we talked about the blessedness of possessing nothing but offering everything. Two questions that we talked about were, if you had to give up one thing, whether it be an item, a relationship, your job even, what would be the hardest thing to give up? And if God asked you to give that up today, how would you respond? We talked about the story of Abraham. God made a promise to him, and Abraham had to wait 10 long years for the birth of Isaac. When Isaac was about 16 years old, God commanded him to take him to the Mount Moriah and to sacrifice him as an offering. We discussed why this was necessary, going back all the way to creation, where God had created Adam and Eve, and he had created them to have himself at the throne of their hearts, and he had created all these things around them to reveal his nature to them and make their joy more abundant. And yet they fell for a deceit, as we do, that they could possess that throne themselves, that they could be their own masters, and that by possessing these things around them, that they could remove the shackles of bondage upon them and instead experience freedom. We too have this rebel, and yet we continue to follow through in these desires, and we discover the same meaninglessness that Adam and Eve found, and that, as we discussed, King Solomon found in the possession of things. You see, as we continue to try to possess these things, they create a rotting within us. And as we continue to try to stuff more and more stuff into our heart, we continue to see how that void just increases, and how the meaninglessness that we experience grows and grows. And Jesus knew exactly how to speak to this. In Matthew 16:24-25, Jesus says, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it." He says this to counter that rebellious part within us, that instead of trying to just push these things aside, we actually have to remove them entirely from our heart and instead replace them with Him, offering all these things up in an open-handed manner up to Him. Abraham needed to experience that whole process of sacrificing, but not following through in sacrificing, his son Isaac, because he had put Isaac on the throne of his heart. The promise that God had made had become an idol to him, and God needed to do this in order to remove this from his heart, and so that God would be in the rightful place where he belongs. And then he would be able to bless Isaac, and he would be able to bless Abraham. Now, Jesus also says in Matthew 22:37, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. Everything that we have is a gift. Everything. Our bodies, our talents, our abilities, the people in our lives, the things that we have around us, our cars, our houses, what have you. They're all blessings from God, but they're not to be possessed by us. You see, when we die, none of these things can come with us. And so they are only entrusted to us. And this was the whole point of our talk this past week, that instead of trying to possess all these things, that instead we should live an open-handed life, offering everything up to God, everything, especially those things that we hold most dear. So this next week, I just want to challenge you to live open-handed with God, to ask Him to reveal anything within your heart that you have valued more than you should, or anything that is clinging on to you, any idolization that you have within your life, to just ask Him to reveal that to you, and then offer that up to Him, asking Him to guide you and help you to release it up to Him, so that He can be in the proper place on the throne of your heart. God bless.